So Chris,
cool, bro.
Welcome to the Transition Podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I love your energy already.
Thanks, dude. Thanks.
So tell me a little bit about Chris. Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? A little bit about your background.
Yeah, a little bit about me. I'm born in North Miami.
Okay.
Born in Miami. There's only
so
a few
you're a
of
Miami
us.
boy.
There's only a few of us. There's not that many.
Well, my business partner, Doug Jones, is actually a North Miami boy.
Okay.
He was born in Miami. I think he's from Miami Shores.
Okay.
So he's from that side of town. Still lives out there.
Yeah, I was born in North Miami and grew up there and started playing golf when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
So it's been like a live, breathe, eat, sleep like type thing. And kind of like similar, we were just chatting before, like about baseball. Like I'm sure you did it forever.
Yeah.
So you really don't know anything else. And then I went to American Heritage in Plantation.
Great school.
Yeah, great school. Amazing coaches, amazing leadership, just good people. And then graduate from there, go on to play at Barry in Miami. So that's kind of like the accelerated version of where I went. And then I had a great time at Barry. We did a lot of amazing things, which I'm sure we'll dive into. And then get out of there and turn pro I played for about 4 years.
So you played pro golf too?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Expensive. Really, really expensive. It cost a lot of money. It doesn't look as glamorous as it does for like Rory and Tiger and all those guys. You're chasing mini tours and like playing a bunch of stuff out of your own pocket pretty much, or whoever would sponsor you, on a small level. And it's just really, really expensive. I think a full year on tour, chasing it, you're probably spending like 50 to 60 grand with like traveling and everything. And then probably if you broke even that year in terms of like what you made revenue wise, you did great. Like if you broke even, you did really well.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Well, it's crazy because like I play minor league baseball and my paycheck was $343 every 2 weeks.
Oh. Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. Not good at all, man. Not good at all. But you're chasing a dream.
Yeah.
Right? You've worked for it your whole life. And I think for many athletes, you go for it, you take your game as far as you can go.
Yeah.
And that's in some cases where you find your closure.
100%. I think the goal always was like, you're that kid in elementary school or middle school and they're doing like little job fairs and like, what do you want to be? And everyone's putting doctors and lawyers and all kinds of like, real jobs. And then you're putting PGA Tour and you're like, that's not a real job. People are telling you, right? That's not a real job. But then that's all that was in my brain was like, there was no second option. It was just, I'm going to play on the PGA Tour and that's it. There's no backup.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How many hours a week do you think you were putting in on that golf course, Chris?
A week?
Yeah.
Probably like maybe 6-7 hours a day. I mean, you're just going there all day. All day. Like as soon as I would finish school, my grandfather would pick me up and he would take me to the golf course. He volunteered at Country Club Miami so we could play for free. Like he would just be like the ranger driving around.
Country Club Miami, man.
Yeah, man. Filling divots and stuff. And then I'd be out there slapping balls around and that was the time, right?
I liked Country Club. Actually, when I was playing golf before, like I told you before, I used to have that Premier card.
Yeah.
And Country Club Miami was one of my...
I don't know if they're still on it, but they used to be.
They used to be on it, right?
Yeah. That was awesome, man. That was an amazing time in my life. And he taught me how to play, my grandfather. So he unfortunately passed this year, actually, in February. Okay. Not because of COVID or anything, just, old age. And
my condolences.
Yeah, thanks, man. But he taught me everything. So we would go out there and slap it around, and he would challenge me and push me. And you don't realize you're in like those best moments of your life till you're not in them anymore.
So it seemed like you were very close to your grandpa.
Super close, yeah.
So I was very close to my grandma.
That's cool.
To the point where I slept on her bed till I was 18 years old. To the day I left for college. I slept on her bed.
Yeah.
With her.
Yeah.
And she taught me how to play baseball.
That's cool.
When I was 5.
That's cool.
She would literally go outside with me, throw me balls, and I'd hit them, and that's how the whole thing started.
Yeah, same thing with my grandfather. Same
and
story.
Grandma was pretty much the one. If it wasn't, it was pretty much her and my dad is taking me to practice.
Yeah.
And she, for years, dedicated her life to picking me up, taking me to baseball practice or basketball or flag football, but she was the one.
Yeah.
Grandparents are important, man.
Super important, man. It's my grandmother's still here, with us.
Okay, awesome.
So, just enjoying the time that we have with her and trying to take her to the golf course, here and there. And
so she enjoys golf herself.
She loves it. She doesn't play, but she loves it. My grandfather was the one who played and taught me everything. He tells a story that when I was 5, I still don't know if this is true, right? You're just hearing it from your parents and your grandparents, that when I was 5, he took me out back and he put a golf ball down and he turned around and I picked up like a 7-iron or something and hit the ball over the house. That's his story. And hey, he's not with us anymore to defend it. So that's the story, right? That is not changing.
So he knew he had something.
Yeah.
He saw something.
And the stories, he tells my mom and my grandmother and my dad to look out the window, and he tells me to do it again. And I did it again. Wow. And then the rest is history. And it would have been amazing to make it even further than I did.
Oh, well, man, but the fact that you turned pro, and I assume you went to Barry on a scholarship?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to get a full scholarship to Barry. So, you don't realize that. That's another point too. You don't realize how important a zero debt coming out of college is until you talk to all your friends that are like, oh, I'm paying $900 a month till I'm 40. And you're like,
I'm so happy you're saying that. I've had this conversation on numerous occasions with my kids and my wife and whatnot. Yeah. I never paid $1. I actually made money when I was in college.
Back then.
And the reason why was because my parents were divorced.
Sure.
So I had a full ride.
Okay.
And I had financial aid.
Wow.
So
it was covering everything. Yeah.
It was covering everything and some.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget, like, all my friends were stressing out. Well, I got to pay for this class. And like, truthfully, I was like, I can never even understand that. So I feel super blessed that I don't have that college debt. So when I hear these stories that somebody owes $150,000, $70,000, $200,000, I'm like, my God, man, like I don't.
In the moment, you're like grateful, but you don't realize the significant impact it has for you long term. Yeah.
No. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So golf was the only sport. Did you?
Pretty much, man. I played like interim soccer, not very good, pretty bad, like very average. I think I played interim basketball. Like I always played like everything, just for fun. I tried baseball. It always seemed like I got hurt every time I played. I'd go play catch with my dad because he was the baseball player.
Okay.
He tried out for a couple major league teams back in the day.
Okay.
And he's a catcher. I think the story that I've heard from him is that his time from to second base, the throw to second base was like a little slow, and they wanted him to come back like the next year and maybe reload, try again. And then things in his life, I guess, didn't shake out that way, and he went a different direction. But he tried to get me into baseball, and it just never seemed to work. I don't know. I always got hit in the eye or something, So
it seems like golf was your
the ball
calling.
Standing still. Yeah, the ball standing still in golf. So I went with golf, and that was pretty much it. Like just everything was golf. High school, college. Like I never partied hardly at all. I was just never that guy. I didn't have like a sip of alcohol until I was 18. It's just always just like all about like just obsessiveness, like just that's all you could think about.
So this guy, I think you speak my language. I had my first drink in college.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I just went to bed early and
I just woke up and thought about
everything was about like practice. Like
Yeah.
that was my life. And I thank God every day for that. I feel in ways that diamond saved my life because my life could have gone in so many different ways. And I think we can all say like, if you don't have that passion or dedication towards something, think about the path that you could have taken.
Sure.
Think about the environments that you could have put yourself in that maybe weren't the healthiest environments and could have led you into the wrong things in
100%.
life. So I believe that kids specifically, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's reading, I don't care what it is. Mm-hmm. Like in my house is a rule, like we're going to do something.
Sure.
And not only we're going to do it, we're going to commit.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think commitment is the key, right? I think sometimes people, and I think passion drives us. I actually loved it, and I think it's important that you find something that you love.
Yeah.
And stick to that. And go for it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Go for it, Chris. And it seems like you did that.
Yeah, I think there's just so many lessons, right? That you were talking about, basically, that even if it's not sports, it might be something else. But there's so many lessons that are learned through there that you intrinsically learn. You don't even realize you're learning them, and you're slowly like developing these character, traits that you have, these characteristics. So I'm super grateful. I'm forever grateful for the game of golf. And then obviously since when someone in your life, like your grandmother or my grandfather, passes, and you start to realize, when you're young, you think everyone's around forever. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
And then you get older, and I'm 31 now, and you start to realize that, oh man, like there's a finite time that they're here with us, and it's real. Since then, I've been trying to play golf a little bit more, since getting into life after golf.
Correct.
It does take, it's a totally different shift, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But like, the time that you have to dedicate to that passion, which is still your passion, like I'm sure baseball's still your passion,
No doubt.
deep down, you just can't devote that much time to it anymore. So I've been trying to be more intentional with the time that I have and like going out there and making use of it.
Yeah, and I keep saying I'm going to play golf every single Friday. I've been saying that since December 31st when
Little New Year's resolution.
Yeah, man, and I haven't done it. And it actually, golf is a sport that I happen to have built a lot of love for recently. It's such a competitive mental sport.
Yeah.
And it's also a great place to do business.
100%.
So I actually want to get better so I can play with clients who are pretty decent and whatnot.
Yeah.
But one of the things, Chris, that I think that, and I'm sure you may agree with me, is I also feel like the field, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, golf, it teaches you what the classroom can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I'll give you an example. My little kids play sports, and my little girl plays soccer and tennis, and my little boy plays soccer, baseball, and flag football.
Okay.
And some basketball now.
Wow.
Yeah, he plays everything. And they actually both do jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
And a lot of times I'm looking at them and I'm like, man, the classroom is great, right? It teaches you the fundamentals,
Sure.
2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
We have a calculator nowadays, so I think we can figure that out pretty fast.
On your phone. Yeah.
On your phone. But the one thing that I love is the main thing that I think it teaches you is a skill set that I think is needed for life. And it's a skill set that you have to have. Yeah. And at the same time, not allow it to get, I guess, out of balance would be what I'm saying. But it's the skill set to anticipate.
Sure.
And I think even in a sport like golf, you're constantly anticipating.
Yeah.
In baseball, where like, when I play golf and you come off the deck and you're on the green, you're already thinking where the next shot should be hit. Yeah. And for life, that's an important skill set, right? For business, totally. I mean, you're in the real estate game. Yeah. You have to have the ability to anticipate.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Your clients need you to make moves.
Yeah, all the time.
And I also think it's a value that you have as a husband, as a dad, to we know danger zones, right? Don't fall in the bunker, right?
Sure.
And that ability, I really think there's no better teacher than on a field.
I agree. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Chris? I don't know that you can anticipate in a classroom. Maybe you can try to anticipate what the teacher's going to ask you.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Quiz that's coming your way.
Yeah. But I don't know how to teach it any other way as like you do on the field.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think speaking of anticipation, I think golf taught me a lot about that. I think the other words that come to mind are like adversity, lots of adversity. And then golf's so mental. It's less reactionary than a lot of other sports, like a basketball or a football, is more reactionary. You just in the moment, things happen so fast, you just make a decision and fly. And golf's so slow, as you know. It's so slow. You're just walking in between shots. You got 5, 6, 7 minutes in between shots. Your thoughts are just going everywhere, thinking about bad things that could happen, good things that could happen, because you don't want to get ahead of yourself in both ways. So I think what golf taught me the most about, especially when I was playing in my prime, is just being in the moment. Because there's no other place to operate at your best than in the moment in golf. If you are out of the moment thinking negatively, bad. If you're out of the moment thinking positively, not good either. So the only safe place is in that moment. And it's not to say that you don't float in and out, but it's the same for me now, I guess, in real estate, right? I can make projections and I can business plan for 2021. And I can do all those things, and then something like COVID could hit, right? And then you're thinking, oh, So my big wing was open houses in 2020, and that is completely shut down. So I got to like somehow shift and get back into the moment of the now and like, what can I do? So I'm grateful. Like sports is huge, man.
I love that you say about being in the moment, and that's something that I had to teach myself a lot of. It's something that didn't come natural for me for whatever reason. I was always a kid that was always constantly in more of that survival mode.
Yeah,
and looking ahead. And I had to teach myself as I got older and I was playing sports, how important it is to slow the game down.
Yeah.
When I was hitting at my best, I can tell you that I wouldn't hear a thing in a stadium. Mm-hmm. The ball that was coming at me at 95 looked like somebody was throwing front toss.
Sure.
And it's because I was just there. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's unnatural, by the way, I think, for anybody to operate in the moment.
Do you think it's a conscious effort of operating from that state of mind?
Yeah, because like you said, like you were operating like in survival mode. So we're just kind of hardwired like
to be survival.
Right. Like, when you were living, when humans were in a cave somewhere and they were getting chased by, some type of animal, like you're just like looking all around, like it's dark, you don't see anything, you're hearing noises, like you're just always in that. So that's still innate in you. You just apply that to baseball. And then you're in, if you're not in the moment, you're thinking about all the things outside of you that could go wrong or could go right. And then that sort of takes you out of that flow that you were just talking about. So the same thing in golf applies. So we'll probably talk about this, but I played as a pro for 4 years and then I got my amateur status back. And this kind of ties into that a lot. But in golf, golf's really weird. There's no other sport like this where like you have such a huge amateur like sector and then a professional sector. The difference is one makes money and one doesn't. One's signing up for a tournament for money and one doesn't. That's your difference.
Okay.
So after I stopped playing professionally, I still wanted to compete. So I said, well, I'm going to get my amateur status back because I'm not playing every day that I'm going to go, put thousands of dollars on the line. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it all out. But I still want to be able to compete and play like amazing courses like we were talking about,
Correct.
across the country. So I got my status back and it took a year to get reinstated with the USGA. So you play nothing. So you go from playing like a tournament, every month of your life, since you're 5, to like you cannot compete for a year. Like just sit out and then once we reinstate you, you can go play amateur tournaments. Okay. I sat out and when I get back in, the first tournament I play, I actually played like pretty good. All right. I think I finished like 5th at the Dixie Amateur here in Coral Springs. Wow. Pretty big one in the winter. And then a couple more tournaments go on and I've completely lost that mentality that we were just sort of talking about. Like it is just so foreign to me. Like I know what to do physically, but then mentally I'm just a wreck. So I play a couple poor tournaments and then sign up for a qualifier for the U.S. Amateur, which is the biggest amateur tournament in the world. Wow. And I played the U.S. Junior Amateur, but never the U.S. Amateur. And I played just awfully that first round. I mean, it is just atrocious. Like nothing good is happening. Nothing my body is telling my mind to do is working. Happening. It is just awful. And I left there and I went to Cracker Barrel. I know it vividly because it's such a traumatic day,
This is interesting. You end up at Cracker Barrel.
End up at Cracker Barrel, just distraught, upset, besides myself. And then I said, you know what? If I'm my biggest thing, I think, even now, is like, if there's something that you're going to complain about to other people or complain about to yourself, like do something about it or stop complaining about it. Like, that's it, I just really get irritated sometimes when people complain about this, that, and the other. And then you're like, so what are you doing about it? And then, oh, well, I don't know yet. Then stop. So at that point, I looked at myself, I was like, well, you're going to complain about this for sure to someone, either to yourself or to someone else. So you got to do something. So I Googled a sports psychologist near me. That's what I literally wrote. I'm sitting in Cracker Barrel in Boca and I Google sports psychologist near me. And this website comes up, MVP Mentality, whatever. Click it. Some chick, I don't know her at that point, Lauren Hennessy. And she's a sports psychologist that she works in Boca. And I read her bio and she went to like UM and got her doctorate and whatever. I'm just kind of surfing. And I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to call. So I call her and she answers the phone and I just flat out told her, I'm like, listen, Lauren, you don't know me. I'm a golfer, used to be a pro, playing tournaments now, but I'm really frustrated with my mental state. And she's like, okay, tell me a little bit more. Well, I'm just playing really poorly and I don't really know what to do at this point and I've got to do something different. And then she said like, okay, well, when would you like to come in? Like sometime next week. I'm like, how's tomorrow? You know, because you're obsessed, right? I'm like, how's tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, I mean, sure, we can make it work. I'm like, because I have another tournament in a week. And she's like, okay, yeah, come on in tomorrow. So I go in tomorrow, and then the rest is history. Probably the next 2 years, I play the best golf of my life. And I work with her, shoot, 2-3 times a month on my mental game. And I also worked with a physical coach at the same time on my swing. But she was a huge part in like turning this around. In the next 12 months, I win the Palm Beach Amateur. I win the state 4-ball. I win the state match play. I win the state mid-am 4-ball. And I was ranked second in the state of Florida as an amateur that year. And that was a huge turning point there, just from the mentality piece.
That's amazing. And and this story relates to, I can relate to you so much where your whole life you had a coach.
Yeah.
And you had somebody kind of guiding you.
Sure.
Whether it was your grandpa, whether it was your golf coach, and you lost that for a while.
Yeah.
And it does affect you. So I actually went out and hired a mental strength coach myself.
Cool.
That I work with every single Friday. His name is Lucas Jaden.
Cool.
And Lucas is actually out in Wisconsin. So we talk, and he works with all sorts of different people.
Sure.
And what a difference it's made for me in my life. He's a special guy. He just wrote a book called Winning in the Dark. Nice. And he wrote another book called Twin Thieves. And these people, having somebody by your corner, it helps so much. It's like, it's like in your spiritual life, you need your pastor or your rabbi or whatever it is. Yeah. You need somebody constantly feeding into you, right? Yeah. So that you can stay refreshed and in the moment, because you lose it. It's a skill set, and we live in a very loud world right now. Mm-hmm. And golf is mental. And life is mental.
Yeah, I would go to her sometimes. I mean, I remember many sessions where I would just call her and be like, hey, we got to meet. Like, I need a session. And it's not about golf. Like, it's just me. It's just personal stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working through some anxiety, or I've got so much pressure on me, or I'm stressed out. Like, I just need to talk to you. Like, I'm not feeling good. And then we would sit there and we would just talk it out. And we wouldn't bring up golf like one time. But
because the root was never golf.
Yeah, 100%.
The root is always fear.
Yeah.
Of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of getting in your own head, not being able to control your own thought patterns.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's I think athletes really realize this, that there's a lot of power in surrender. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of power in, I think being in the moment is all about surrendering.
Yeah.
Because when you surrender, you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to do what I can do.
Yeah. And
I'm okay with whatever happens, but I'm just going to.
It's hard to get there.
It is. Yeah. Because it's scary. Because at the end of the day, the root is all fear.
We always want to be in control, right?
It's natural, especially, type A personalities, guys that want to get out there, want to get better. It's our gift, and it's also a little bit of your curse. And it's, how do you find that middle ground?
Yeah.
And I think we all want to play a long game, right?
Yeah.
I'm in this for a long haul. I don't want to be doing this and this whole life thing. And, it can't be healthy to be stressed out every single day of your life, going crazy. No. And you come to a point where you have to realize, okay, now I'm in a mental state of mind that I need to change.
Yeah.
And thank God, maybe because of our athletic background, we have awareness. Mm-hmm. Like, your body, your state of mind. And I always think your mind is connected to your body. I heard a doctor the other day say, I don't know how accurate he is, but he's like, you know what? Disease starts in the mind.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful statement, man.
Yeah.
He's telling you disease doesn't start in, it starts here and it trickles down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I have to believe that, because when you're able to be in a state of mind that's peaceful, your nervous system is peaceful. Mm-hmm. And you're flowing. And all that fear is not, causing all these different types of bad stuff in your body, or, chemically or whatever the case may be. But it's awesome that you have somebody you can talk to, and I'm sure it's helping you with.
Yeah, she was great. You know, we stay in touch. You know, sometimes I've sent some young golfers, you know, because I was a college coach too. So I send some young golfers her way, you know, if they need some help with mentality and stuff like that. But along those lines of what you're talking about, that Palm Beach Amateur that I won, I think first round I shoot like 71 or 72. You play golf, so you know.
Wow, that's big time.
I shoot like 71 or 72, and for me at that time, it's like it's okay. You know, it's good.
Yep.
Sorry. Yep. He's like, yeah, you too, right?
Yeah, not even close, buddy.
And then I think I shoot like 72 or 73 the second round, and I'm like 5 back or 6 back with like 1 round to go. But those first 2 rounds were very like, you know, playing with some fear and steering it, you know, kind of like just not really letting it go. I'm sure as like a baseball player, like it's very similar when you're in the batter's box, like, you know, whether you're kind of like trying to steer it or make something happen or just like let it happen. And I felt really like uncomfortable those 2 days, like just sort of whatever. Like, hey, they're good on paper, but like this is nowhere near where you should be playing right now if you would let it go. But finding a way to let it go, it was that piece.
And a part of me has to think that your mental toughness, even though you may have not felt it physically, got you a little bit through that grind, right? You grinded out 18 holes.
And well, and then before we got on here, you were talking a lot about your spirituality and God and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And everybody's different in that area probably of their life. But again, athletes are so weird, man. And that night, I decide that I was feeling kind of like lost, and sometimes I'll listen to like worship music and just, you know, it'll help me like just relax and stuff
I listened to it on the way here.
Yeah, man. So I listened to it on the way down, and then I've always worn this WWJD bracelet. Like since I have pictures when I'm like 7 years old. Like I don't think I've spent a day of my life without one on since I'm like 7. Like it's just always on me. So I go to like a Lifeway Christian store in Davie. It used to be there. It's not there anymore. And I think I ended up buying this I Am Second one, which is a really cool company or association. It's a lot of athletes in there. You should look into it.
Okay.
Where they kind of decided or realized that God was first and they were really second, and they sort of like let it go. So I kind of do this whole thing for like an hour down there, and then I don't know. I decided in that moment that night that, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to just play, and I don't really care what the outcome of every shot is, and I'm just going to give it to him, and whatever happens, happens. If I'm meant to shoot 90 tomorrow and completely like come in dead last,
dude, I'm throwing a party if I shoot bogey golf.
Then we'll figure it out. You know, like if that's what's meant to be, then that's what's meant to be. It must be for a reason. There must be some lesson that I'm supposed to learn out of that if that's what's meant to be tomorrow. So you know what? I'm just going to let it all hang out there and see what happens. But I'm not going to go out there and try to control everything, you know, is what I said to myself. So just let it be. And that's really hard to like surrender that like at that level.
But
like,
there's so much power there.
So I shoot 65 and win the tournament after that. And the funny part is that I'm 4 groups out from the leader. So no one even knows what's going on.
Like, who's this dude, Chris? Where did this guy come out of, man?
Complete flow. And we finished the tournament, and I'm just kind of in the clubhouse, you know, chilling, waiting for the board. And the leaders are coming in, and now they see the scores, and I win. And the photographer and the media guy that was there, he's like, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but you were so far out in front of everybody. I don't have any like footage of you. I don't have any content of you. Can we just go back out and just hit some shots, and I'll just take them and pretend that they were like real ones?" So we go back out, and I just start ripping drivers off one because he doesn't have anything for like the newspaper, nothing. So that was a huge like turning point for me because it was complete release.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You literally, what it sounds like to the outside, you have, you know, soft mentality, and you're not being hard, like you're just like whatever happens. Mm-hmm. But in reality, you weren't. You're a competitor.
Sure.
You wanted to win the damn thing.
Yeah.
But you also understood that you've prepared.
Sure.
You've done your training.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally. You've done everything that was within your control.
Correct.
Right? Now tomorrow, on game day, you said, you know what? I've done everything I can. Mm-hmm. Let's go have a blast.
Yeah.
God gave me a gift.
Let's see what happens.
And let's see what happens, man.
Yeah.
And I think there is so much power in that surrender, because I know for a fact that you weren't just like, giving yourself an excuse.
No,
you were just like, what else can I do? Right.
100%. It's like, I know that the way that I'll perform my best is if I let go. You know, it's more of like that mentality. Like, I know that I'll perform my best if I just completely let go of the outcome, of the results, of where the ball's going to go, of whatever's going to happen, of where I'm going to finish. I just got to let go of all that and just be in the moment.
Last year, I had my biggest year in business.
Nice.
This company did.
Yeah.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And I say that very humbly because I understand, and respectfully, because I understand that not everybody unfortunately got to it. Sure. But we did. Now, it may have happened to have been that it was 2020 and COVID, and a lot of people are like, oh, how, you know, you guys we grew during COVID. And I'm like, we didn't grow during COVID. Yeah. I grew back in 14 and 15 when I was planting seeds that harvested. Sure. In 2020.
100%.
Right? So the people that I was talking to just didn't pop out of nowhere. Yeah. These were conversations and relationships that were being built for a long time. Yep. They just happened to become fruitful. Yeah. And arguably the worst. Same language, yeah. Correct. So it's just amazing how when you put in the work, man. Yeah. And again, I Johnny, you know, I say this all the time, man. You can control your preparation, your character, your attitude, being kind to people, being a fighter internally. Yeah. But when you give things to God and you say, okay, you gave me a gift, man. I don't know how I got here. You know, I got hands, eyes. I look at myself like, I know that, you know. Yeah, true. Something's out there, right? Yeah. Well, if you do that and you start to trust the process, Chris, when you fall in love with the process, the results start to take care of themselves. Yeah. And last year, the reason why I say it is because last year was the first year where I was like, you know what, man, like, we have no control. Like, I think sometimes when we're doing great, there's this confidence about you that you think you have control, and it's almost like every once in a while, the man steers you back and sends you a quick reminder, like, don't forget. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And it's amazing that how when you flow from a state of mind of peace, yeah, how blessings can flow in your life, man. But when you try to control everything, I call it like almost like grabbing a PVC pipe, you know, or clogging a bathroom toilet. And it's like, it can't flow, dude. Sure. Things can't flow. And I think athletes and the best at what they do, they play from a piece of, there's a piece in you.
100%. And a lot of what we just talked about, I said this from day one. I got my real estate license after all this. You know, I coach college golf afterwards because I did both at the same time. I was a pro, then I coach in high school. So I coach at Heritage. We win some championships. Win a state championship was really fun. And that's when I started to decide that, like, I kind of like this coaching gig too. Like, this is kind of cool too.
I love coaching.
Love giving back. Like, this is my jam. And I feel like I'm a good communicator and I can pass along a lot of the stuff that I learned previously. Like, this is really cool. I ended up leaving there and going to Barrie to be a coach there, the assistant coach with my former coach, right? Wow. And I think like, okay. And at that point, I think I still was a pro for like maybe like another like year or so, maybe. But it was like, man, I need some money. I was like, I need to get paid. So I was like, all right, salary, 30 grand. Yeah, I could do 30 grand. Right?
All day, baby.
All day, I'll take it.
I did the same thing, man.
So I did that, man. I'm living at home, 30 grand. Like, I'll do my thing. So I was there for a couple years and we won some championships as well. So a lot of success there. And then fast forward, I keep coaching and I ended up taking my real estate exam, my real estate course. My sister always wanted to do it, and I did it with her and my girlfriend at the time and her best friend. So we all did it together. And but I never thought of anything beyond sports. You know, it was always like, I'm going to do something with golf. So if I'm a golf coach, if I'm a golf instructor, if I'm a golf course pro, like, a club, a teacher, I don't know, a fitter, I'm going to do something with golf. If it's not playing, it's going to be in golf. And then a recruiter, right? Could be anything. And then I decided that, I'm going to give this real estate thing a shot. So we give it a shot, and then I start to see the similarities. The first 6 months I caddy for a friend of mine, Christian Caperos. He's still playing like PGA Latin America and all those tours. And I caddy for him for 6 months. We go to Vancouver. We go to Mexico. We go to Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Brazil, like Missouri, Tennessee. We're all over the place in that 6 months. And I'm carrying the bag for him, which is also tricky. I love Christian. He's still a good friend of mine, but tough to be a competitor and then be on the sideline, you know, in a way. You know, I'm competing through him essentially at that point. And that's a whole different mentality. But I leave there. But
you're also leading him.
Also leading him, right? And getting to pass on stuff. I'm super grateful for those 6 months. It was cool. I saw a lot of great places, learned a lot of great things, hopefully helped him out.
Did you call some shots?
Yeah. We had a great time, man. He played some great rounds. He's an amazing golfer. It's a great family. But then after 6 months, it's kind of like he was looking for someone full time, right? That he could lean on for the next 2-3 years. I didn't feel that I could commit to that. And I also really wanted to give this real estate thing a shot. And the only way to really do something is to go all in. I can't be like 50-50. So I'm like, all right, I got like $2,000, $5,000 in the bank account. Like, let's see what happens. Hopefully that's enough to like be a cushion. And probably wasn't, because there were some months where that bank account got real low. Yeah. Maybe in like the $1,000 range, and you're like, man, I gotta get paid. And real estate's all commission based, like probably a lot of what happens here. Maybe
I've never had a side.
Yeah, man. So I said, screw it, let's just do it. So then a couple months in, it starts to really like get better. I'm starting to close some deals, and the reason I kind of brought this up too was like you mentioned seeds, like dropping seeds. I'm really like not a salesman at all. I don't like, and we'll get further. I'm a coach now in my market center. I coach 55 agents with another agent. We run the coaching program there and help them build their business. So new agents that have hit a ceiling that need to, break that ceiling. So we run that program since August now. We got about 55, 57 or something like that in the program. And I have my sales team, and do my business. But, I mentioned that because you said dropping seeds, and like a lot of times in real estate, there's scripts for everybody. Like you all have scripts too, I'm sure, like for phone calls and stuff like that. And, a common script when you're calling people, like you said, dropping seeds, in your sphere, is that, we have a contest going on, and do you know anybody from church or work that's looking to buy or sell in the next 6 months? And I could give a call today, blah, blah, blah. And it makes you want to throw up a little bit, like in my mouth. And I'm like, God, I hate it.
This is not me.
Yeah, it's not me. So I might get in trouble for saying this because we still got those scripts probably somewhere in there. But I just decided to like kind of push those to the side. And I'm like, you know what, man, I know people. Like I know how to communicate, and then just trained a lot and learned a lot. And then I realized, man, it's just like what you said. Like if when I was a coach in golf, I had to communicate with people, right? I had to like gain their trust. I had to develop relationships. Recruiting, all those things. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to make conversations with people in throughout the day, in social media, Facebook, Instagram, my phone, wherever it is. And I'm just going to drop real estate seeds all over the place. I'm not going to ask for anything. I'm just going to be a good human being and then just see what happens. And, when they ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to mention real estate, and then I'm just going to let it be. And if they know me, like me, and trust me, then they'll probably call me one day. But I'm not going to like just, shove something down their throat. Because I get some DMs right now on social media from like, some accounting firm. And the first message is like a paragraph.
No, it's the most annoying things on LinkedIn is like when you're just like selling me. I'm like, dude, just.
Like, I don't even know you. Why would I?
I know.
Why would I even respond? Like, so whatever. But then like you said, during the pandemic, I had a really good year last year, my best year in business. And then this year we're doing really well. I mean, I humbly say, like, we've already passed the $100,000 mark this year.
It's amazing.
Year to date, which is something that I never even thought would have been possible. Believe me. I came into real estate after leaving sports, and my salary previously coaching was $52,000. Yeah. And my parents have always been like sort of like middle range, and I just thought that's where you're going to be, like I just didn't really see past that. And then my first class, I raised my hand and he said, all right, everybody, how much do you want to make, this first year in real estate? And I said $52,000 because I just figured if I replaced myself, I gave him that number, $52,000. And then he's like, okay. Because people were throwing out big numbers like 150, 115. team, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is crazy. You're going to make that kind of money. It just wasn't in my brain. And then he told me, Chris, we got to at least aim for 6 figures. And he's my team leader now, actually, in the office. He was a trainer back then. And I go like, okay, reluctantly, you know, like this ain't never going to happen. And then I think the first year I might have made like, you know, 40 grand or something like that, which was okay, especially for your first year in real estate. And then last year we made about 80, 85, somewhere in there. And then now we're in August and we're over 100. So it's pretty crazy to even think that. He came to my office the other day and mentioned that. He goes like, congrats, man. And I'm like, for what? It was like a Tuesday. For what? He's like, you just broke $100,000. I'm like, no, we didn't. And he's like, yeah, you did, 104. And I'm like, no, I think you're mistaken. He's like, no, I'm really not. And I'm like, cool. It's really humbling, man. And like you said, I've been really grateful to have gotten into this industry, and like something that I never thought would have been possible after sports, never, because it was just golf. Like for you, it's just baseball. Yeah. And to get into a field like real estate, when my parents rented their whole lives, I didn't even know what a mortgage was. Like mortgage was something that people paid per month. That was my definition. Don't ask me anything more than that. Just in 2018, I got my license in 2018.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, look how far you've come. And
so yeah, man, it's cool. But it's surrounding yourself with good people. I can tell you all got great people here, and yourself, and just sort of like taking that aspect of sports and putting it into golf. Because I can't tell you how many analogies I use on a daily basis that are rooted in sports.
I don't think I have. I don't. They laugh at me because they're
probably sick of it, right? Like
I don't know how else to communicate.
Now, listen, guys, it's kind of like in baseball where you're in there like, oh, here he goes again, man.
Yeah. I mean, because it does all tie down back to the field. Always. And it's by no coincidence also that you are already coaching and leading, because you're a natural born leader. Yeah. So you're calling, whether it's in business, whether it's in life, whether it's at home, that's what you're called to do. And from a financial perspective, you're just getting started, man, because you know what? One of the things that I can tell you, 12 years after the fact, is that if you focus on building and not chasing, everybody's chasing. But when you focus on building, the result, it's the same thing. It's like you wake up in the morning, you get your meal, you get your lift in, you get to the golf course, you go to the range, you get your putts in, you take a break, you do it again. When you start to do that, eventually when you get on the field, and you get on the course, you're going to start hitting your shots. You're going to start making your putts. Yeah. It's the same thing in business. Mm-hmm. You get up, you make a phone call, you talk to somebody, you educate somebody about where the market's going, where it's trending, why you should buy this home, why you shouldn't buy this home. Yeah. And when you come from a place of real, you're going to win, man.
Yeah, it's not a knock. I love what you said. It's not a knock on people that aren't athletes or weren't athletes.
No, but it's our advantage.
But it is, I think it's clearly an advantage. I know a lot of big companies who specifically recruit athletes out of college for that reason, because they sort of come out already with all those characteristics and all those traits just innate in them. But I know for me, whenever I'm explaining stuff, even from goal setting, right? Like you set your goals for the year and then you forget them, because like, what good is me thinking about it every day? I just got to focus on what do I have to do today? And if I do the little things right over and over and over again consistently, then I'll hit my goal. Like it really helps, I think, simplify what I do now, and what you do too.
You're so mentally prepared, Chris. I'll give you an example. And again, I say this respectfully. And Johnny, we've had this conversation. He actually played a lot of volleyball.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. And how many times does somebody tell you, Chris, you suck, you're not good enough?
Yeah.
You're not good enough. Yeah. Indirectly.
Yeah.
You're not good enough.
Sure.
Right. You walk up and you tell that to an average human being mindset, they may sit in their bed and not come out of their home.
Very possible.
But for you and I, it's normal.
Yeah.
For other people, be like, oh my God, that guy's so mean. And I'm like, if you told me, dude, you're not getting the job done, it's actually like
motivating. Yeah.
Like, how can I get better, coach?
Sure.
The conversation actually just got started.
Yeah. My college coach.
But you say that to somebody else.
Oh no.
It's like you've damaged my self-esteem. I'm like, what are you talking about? Your ass needs to get better. You know how many times a coach is in your face telling you, you didn't move the guy over. You should have brought him in. You're going to the bench.
he'd call us over to his office and he would slap on his front door the rankings every week. So like if we were ranked 1, which we were ranked 1 a lot in college, and then we dropped to 2, he'd highlight just our name, you know, right in a pink highlighter. I remember, because you don't forget stuff like that. Or like if I said, or this would be another good example, like some kid, you know, misses a practice, or he's been lackadaisical, or he hasn't been doing the things he want to do. And then you'd show up and you'd see the wall and he'd highlight your name, ranked, you know, 78th in the country. And you're like,
there you go.
Yeah. You're like, okay, got it. Yeah, no, you're used to all those type of things. And that's definitely been something that serves you well post sports, you know, in business. So I'm super grateful for everything that golf's given me, because it's stuff that I can translate as a coach now, you know, to them, because it's the same things. It's just a different thing. You know, before it was golf and now it's real estate, but the principles haven't changed. You know, sticking to the process, staying in the moment, creating habits, being consistent, focusing on the present, not in the future, not in the past. Like, what can I do right now? It's all the same. Nothing changes. It's just the thing that you're working towards has changed, you know, the physical thing. But all that stuff's the same. So it's fun that golf has taken me through that journey.
Yeah.
And I think working with someone like Lauren, like you worked with your guy, that totally changed my mentality, and that's helped me push some things onto other people that I wasn't aware of, you know, but she made me aware of them. It's like, oh man, maybe I can really help this person. I'm just really grateful, man. Golf has given me everything.
And I will say this, I think one of the things that I have changed, and it's hard, we're doing it, is we're natural competitors, man. Like I like to win. I don't play the game to lose the game. But I understand that failure is just learning for me, right? Yeah. So if I didn't get the W, what could I have done better? You know, where did I miss? Yeah. What did I forget to do better? What did I not communicate? But one of the things that I think I've implemented in the last 5 years, and specifically in the last 2, like, and I'm not saying this happens every day because it's tough, but man, like I'm conscious of it when I'm not doing it, is to have fun. Yeah. Having fun. Because I don't need to be pushed, dude. Like that's a lot. Actually, I'm like the opposite. Like, I'm
self-motivated.
And even my teammates out here, like I'm so blessed to have them, because every once in a while they even know, like, hey, you gotta, like, you know, take a break, or because they know that I'm going. Yeah. And I think sometimes when the process is no longer fun is when you can get yourself in trouble, you know? And that's when you leave the present moment. That's when you go into that state of fear, into that unknown, into those negative thoughts. Yeah. But when you're like, man, you know what? I'm excited about what God has for me today. I can't wait for what He has for me tomorrow, you know? And you live from that moment. You allow yourself to start succeeding.
100%.
I actually wish I would have had that more when I was playing. I took it so serious. Yeah. Chris, like I was the guy in the batting cage hitting. You know, if I had a bad game, you know, I would stay after the game and I would hit, you know, I'd take my cuts in the batting cage when I probably should have gone home and really should have been like, okay,
chill.
My swing is good. It was my approach, right? Sure. It was my mental, what was I thinking? Yeah. And but I made it all so physical. Everything was about my swing. Yeah. Right? And I never really thought about the mindset portion of it. And to be honest with you, I other than one coach, I never really had a coach that taught me that. Yeah. You know, and I had great coaches, but they just, that wasn't talked about like it is today. And now I realize, like, man, like if you're taking your swings and you're doing your thing, a lot of it is just mental. You know, I was looking for a certain pitch and I swung on another pitch. That was what cost you a bat. It wasn't, you know, my back elbow wasn't where it needed to be, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. Those things are important. Yeah. But in reality, it was the mental state. And I think that, that's where I think we start to win in the game of life. This is all a mental game, man. I mean, 100%. Going back to COVID, you had an amazing year last year in COVID. Yeah. You know, I have to believe that there's a part of me that already knows that you were built for moments like what we're in, because we're in tough times, man.
Yeah.
Right? If you turn on the news, and I've been horrible at this, and I'm trying not to, it's like this constant addiction to negativity, Chris. It's like over and over. It's like fear over and over. So you've turned it off completely, right?
Yeah, I never watch the news.
And it's probably
I wouldn't know if there was a hurricane coming tomorrow. Like it's that level. Like I would find out when I go to the Publix today and I see everybody like stacking up on water. It's like, oh,
Kristen, can I ask you, is that intentional?
Yeah.
And is that how you guard your heart?
Yeah, I think so. It's just I definitely have anxiety for sure. I definitely am overstressed. It's just my nature. Like I'm always worried about things. You know, COVID is.
When were you born?
89.
What month?
September.
Okay.
September 9th. I'll be 32 in like a month. But COVID freaked me out. I mean, a lot of things freak me out, but COVID freaks me out. I mean, I'm sure it freaked out a lot of people. But if you suffer from some type of anxiety as well, geez, I mean, you go outside your house, it's like your fear of touching something or breathing something. I mean, it's like you're just paranoid all day. So the last year was rough. And then, I think getting the vaccine is a really personal decision. Yeah, I think some people are going to choose to get it and some people won't. I saw it as like definitely another fear, right? Because like you don't know what you're putting in your body. You're hoping that it's backed by these scientists and you believe them and stuff like that. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? Like they've produced something that is supposed to give me protection against this thing that is. So
no, I think a lot of people take it to it's their sense of relief of.
It definitely helped me, man. I can tell you 100%.
Like now you feel safer again, right?
I feel safer.
See, we all have our different there's certain things that scare me. When COVID came out, it never scared me.
Okay.
Like the actual thing.
It freaked me out. I'll be honest. Watching the news. I mean, and granted, it depends what news you're watching, I guess. But you start watching the news, you're, oh my God, these people.
No. I mean, I respected it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But I also feel like it's like I was being prepped for this moment years ago.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you.
Like I'm like, all right, like most people are, what freaked me out was watching people freak out. Sure. And that's because I'm very sensitive to a fact I know what it is to go through anxiety.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, it is. And it hurts your heart to see somebody who's in that state.
Yeah.
And when you see it and you're like, man, they shouldn't even be in that state. But you're watching it at a massive level. Like it's just like out of control. But what got me, and this is what I was like, man, like you watch these media people and they're just smiling and talking. Yeah. And then the whole world is panicking. I'm like, guys, aren't you seeing what sells? Is COVID real? 100%. Do we got to do something about it? 100%. Yeah. But you can't, what are we going to do? Sit inside a room for the rest of our lives?
No, definitely no.
You know what I'm saying, Chris?
I think that's where me and you are the same. I'm
willing to take my risk.
I might have been freaking out about COVID. Trust me, I was freaking out. But at the same time, I wasn't paralyzed to the point that like, okay, I'm freaking out. I'm a little nervous now when I go out to Publix. I'm a little nervous about things. I'm washing my hands like crazy. I got hand sanitizer on me at all times, like all this craziness. Because it feels like you're living in a movie. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, okay, like let's come up with a game plan. In the middle of COVID, COVID just hit. I had left Keller Williams in December of 2019 to go with the guy who coached me in the beginning of real estate. And he was going to start a team and it seemed like an amazing idea. It's right before COVID, December 2019. And we get it, like 3-4 months later or something like that. And,
I was in New York. It's a whole story, but I was in the
epicenter.
Oh.
So I go with him. And then after about 3-4 months, I realized that I just kind of felt like I was in the background, you know, and that was okay. Like that's what I signed up for, so I'm super grateful to him and everybody who I learned from there. And then the pandemic hits and now we're in lockdown. I'm at home. I'm like, crap, I think I want to leave where I'm at, like just start something different. So I left and rebranded everything in April of 2019. Complete rebrand. I mean,
So let's talk about that. What Chris Carlin Group?
Yeah, that's me. That's me, right? My name, obviously, and a group and a logo. This is total rebrand just at the start of the pandemic.
This is not your real estate firm.
Yeah. So I'm with Keller Williams. I go back to Keller Williams where I came from because
Okay.
I'm like, man, I left the company with the most leadership opportunities, and I feel like I'm lacking fulfillment in that leadership area.
Correct.
I'm like, okay? Hey, you learn from what you did what you did in the moment, and you learn and you move on. So I called my previous team leader and my broker, and they were very open arms.
Come back.
Love you. Come back. Welcome home. And I came back, and then that really helped me in that next 3 months, like redefine what my business was going to be like, because there was so much training, so much leadership, so much guidance from KW, like international, just tons of Zoom calls and workshops and all sorts of stuff to like re-engage all these agents that they have, because they have over 100,000 across the world.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, like let's go, let's rebrand, let's start doing this, let's start from scratch again and build a foundation again. Because I had a brand before I left to that team, and then I was like, we're going to rebrand, and that sort of helped everything. I mean, social media was big for me, but now being at home all day is like, well, I mean, let's just make content all day, because what else am I going to do, right? I can't go show houses, so like, let's just make content. So we were making, videos upon videos upon videos, funny, serious, and educational, whatever, stupid things,
showing people who you are.
Dumb videos with my family. There's one. Remember that challenge where like you leave your kid like the candy or the treats, and then you tell them like, wait till I get back. I did one with my mom, I'm 30 years old. But we did one with Krispy Kreme donuts, and I'm shoving them in my face, and she comes back in and screams at me, just like getting creative. Yeah. I think in that last year. And I think I wish COVID never happened, like everybody. Of course. But at the same time, I think it
helps you grow.
If you look at the opportunities through that year,
what do they say? Chaos brings opportunity.
Right. All of us would say, could we erase that from history? 100%. Everybody would agree. No doubt. And at the same time, in those moments, we got creative. We did different things. We discovered new things about ourselves, about the business, about the way that we could communicate with clients. Like, we had to go way outside the box, like a lot of people did, like you guys did too. And I'm grateful for that, because look where we are now. We had to adapt. So as you said, yes, real estate was hot, last year, and real estate's still hot. Which is great. We're fortunate to be one of those industries like you guys.
Thank God we live in Florida.
And at the same time, there's still realtors, unfortunately, that are not working. They're working from home. Like we say, they're working from home. I went back to the office as soon as I could. Still terrified a little bit of being around people, but I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I love, we've been making a lot of cool content, and we're doing a lot of good stuff, and we're in business. Like, I got to go. Like, I got to operate.
You got to get back in the locker room, man.
Yeah. I got to get back.
And there's nothing like the energy of your teammates.
Nothing.
And you know what, man? And that atmosphere is so healthy.
Yeah, bro.
This whole work from home thing, I've got a lot of my reservations for it. I think there's a time and place for it. There's no doubt. We have, like, for instance, here we have Team A, Team B, and Fridays we've all decided to go virtual for the lifetime of our company. Okay. And it's been amazing, specifically for moms and stuff like that. Cool. But there is nothing like the team commodity. This is like walking out there, and we have Slack, and you'll send a message, but it's like when you can tell somebody in their face, thank you. Or, and meet with your people. I appreciate you. Shake somebody's hand, the wins. That, is, this is the business part of me.
Sure.
I don't think that the work from home is just long-term sustainable play.
No.
I personally, do I think there's times and places for it? Yes. But you can't have a company that's 100% mobile. No. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong.
No, and I think kind of what you said, like making an adaptation like you guys did to go Friday virtuals for the life of your company. Like, I think we've learned in the last year and a half that there's a middle ground, that you can combine the best of Zooms, because we're all Zoomed out, but the best of Zooms, and you can combine the best of in person and come up with some hybrid that's super multifunctional.
No doubt.
Because Zooms are, as much as like Zoom can get annoying sometimes, like sitting on a 2-hour, 3-hour Zoom call, and you're just like, and you're there and you're on mute and you're just trying to like pay attention because you zone out. They're super convenient, right? Like, I'm on the road sometimes, and I'm in the car, and I got a Zoom training on, or I got a meeting that I'm in, and I'm headed to a showing, or I'm going to a listing, or I'm going to I'm doing stuff.
The technology that has
before I would have had to completely reschedule the whole day, right? Like, I got to be there in person in Weston, but my showing's in Coral Gables. Oh man, how am I going to be in that meeting? Like, you got to repurpose everything. So it's made it more convenient, but like you said, finding a way to marry the two from a coaching aspect, I know from a client aspect, we do a lot virtually now,
Yeah.
A lot of phone calls. Sometimes we jump on a Zoom call and share some stuff. So we found ways to do that. During COVID, we're doing virtual showings, virtual open houses, all sorts of crazy stuff. Now more people are coming back to, just being in person, and with the vaccine, I think that's sort of helping. But from a company aspect, because I have my sales business, and then I have the coaching business. So it's like operating two things at once.
Okay.
And from the coaching side, we found a real like disconnect, with Zoom. It's tough to engage people 24/7.
I think,
and Slack. We have Slack too.
My strength is to sit in a room and shake your hand and look at you in the eye. I think that's,
you have a great presence.
That's where I feel like my strength is at. And sometimes in Zoom calls, I was getting uncomfortable. Like I was like a little weirded out.
You know what's weird about something?
So I was the opposite. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not good in this environment. And then I saw people who weren't as good.
Yeah.
In the in-person environment, thrive there.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
There's a coach in Keller Williams who he's a bold coach, and he's great at what he does. But during the pandemic, this dude, James Shaw, I mean, I took his in-person seminar and it was good. It was good. But in the middle of COVID, this dude launched like 3 other Zoom platforms and a workshop here, and the dude found his groove.
His game.
Like he is as comfortable as you can be, and he's been incredible. So he really found something. But what's interesting about the business thing now with virtual and in person, we're trying to accommodate both sides. You're trying, but the tricky part is when you offer something in person or virtual as an option, it gives people like an out. To settle for the virtual one or maybe not show up altogether. Yeah. And that's what we're finding. Like right now, while I'm here with you, we have a workshop going on for the program. Yeah. And it's only in person on Fridays from 10 to 12. And we found that if we had offered that virtually, we'll lose half the room. Because people will just opt to stay at home, and you don't really know if they're doing anything at home.
So is this virtual workshop strictly for realtors, or it can be anybody in sales?
These are for realtors. So it's specific to them lead generating and producing income, stuff like that. But we're finding that it's tough to offer both. And I'm sure a lot of companies are too. Yeah. But in person is so important. Like you said, face to face, it's never going to get replaced.
No. So as we start to wrap this up.
Yeah.
2 questions for you.
Okay.
What advice would you give to anybody that's in transition? What do you think, when you think of your journey, where you've gone, what's one thing that you think really helped your transition?
Man, that's a good question. I would say to just have an open mind. I would say have an open mind.
I like that.
As much as you think that your thing, your sport, is the only thing, there's so much more, in the world. Trust me, I'm a golfer till I die. Like you're a baseball player. Yeah. And at the same time,
I want to go hit with them. I want to go take BP and more, I think I can still play.
Yeah, bro. You're just always thinking about it. And at the same time, there's so many things that you haven't even realized that exist that you are probably super skilled at. And it might not be everything, but there's a couple things that you realize that you're going to have a passion for. I have a passion for people, I think. Yeah. I have a passion for
people. You definitely exude that.
And I have a passion,
you have a passion for life.
Even beyond that, man, I've gone from golf to now I started a Facebook group called The Local Lens. It's a photography group. I picked up photography during the pandemic just because. And we have 617 members now in that group.
You have an ability to connect, man.
We do virtual events once a month. We do in-person events once a month.
You have an ability to connect people.
But the story behind that is I would have never picked that up, right? If it wasn't for a transition that occurred several years ago that took me into real estate, that took me into people, that took me into how do I make more relationships, that took me into a hobby, that turned into this group. Now I've met people. There's people on there that I've never met face to face, but if they called me right now, we're friends, and we have a relationship. And then that's taken me, it's just, you realize so many things after, I think, that you just never had a mind for because you were so singularly focused, which was good at that time. But I would say my best advice is just be open-minded. You have no idea what's waiting for you on the other side.
Last question.
Yeah.
What would you, from where you're at today,
yeah,
and everything you've gone through,
yeah,
what would you tell 18-year-old Chris?
Oh, man. That's such a good one. What would you tell 18-year-old Chris? By the way, I'm not prepared for these. What would you tell 18-year-old Chris? I would probably tell him. I would probably tell him to be a little easier on himself. Easier on himself is probably what I would say. I'd probably say like, sort of like we talked about today. Like, take a step back, take a deep breath. Like, you're gonna be fine.
Enjoy it.
Just enjoy it. I think that's probably what I would say.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you for coming on.
I appreciate your time, man. This was awesome. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you,
bro.
Chris.
Appreciate you, dude.